Snowboarding first started as a form of youthful resistance to the popular sport of skiing. The media has represented snowboarders as misfits and delinquents. But snowboarding isn't just about wild lingo, high speeds, and dangerous stunts. The sport actually revolves around the concepts of physics. From the time you step on the lift to the time you hit the base of the mountain, physics concepts affect your every movement and action. An understanding of snowboarding physics is useful to riders of all skill levels because it allows them to identify key physics principles and apply them to properly execute particular moves and maximize their performance. How? Well, let's get started with the basics, the initiation of forward movement on a snowboard. When a rider reaches the top of the mountain, he has produced potential energy, which is generated through his mass, elevation, and the forces of gravity. Potential energy is simply stored energy and does not result in motion. But a rider can harness this stored energy through the conversion of his potential energy into kinetic energy, resulting in forward motion down the hill. As a rider descends down the slope of a mountain, forward velocity is generated by gravitational forces acting upon the rider's mass. As the rider continues downhill, he accelerates at an exponential rate because his board, mass, and velocity are all pointed in the same direction as the forces of gravity. However, since mountain sides are steep, too much speed can result in a snowboarder losing control. To reduce speed, the board must be perpendicular to the downhill slope and tilted so that it lays on its sharp metal edge, a motion referred to as skidding. The exposed wide base of the board plows into the snow with maximized surface area, thus slowing the rider down. This occurs because the plowing action generates frictional resistance with the snow by physically pushing it. Although skidding can be controlled and successfully executed, it ultimately results in a significant loss in speed, which can be undesirable. As skill progresses, riders often transition toward the use of more precise turning maneuvers that minimize the amount of energy that is lost due to skidding. The most efficient turn energetically occurs when the snowboarder leans into the turn and tilts their board at a 45-degree angle with respect to the snow. This is referred to as a pier carve, as the edge of the board carves into the snow with the snowboard pointed in the same direction as its velocity. With less friction between the snowboard and snow, the speed and energy that is lost during a turn is diminished, enabling the rider to navigate obstacles faster and more precisely. Executing a carved turn takes skill and becomes more difficult at higher speeds. Top-level snowboarders are typically the only riders who are able to do it consistently. Once riders have mastered the ability to harness and convert gravitational potential energy into kinetic energy, as well as maintain their velocity through carved turns, they often attempt airborne flight in the form of aerial stunts. The key principles of physics applied when performing tricks off of jumps involve the conservation of velocity, exertion of spring forces, initiation of angular momentum, and the reduction of air resistance. Let's analyze these components with an example, a 360-degree rotation in the air. As the rider approaches the jump, he must maintain his speed in order to achieve sufficient air time to complete the rotation. When approaching the takeoff, the rider compresses his knees and pre-winds his torso by turning his upper body and arms in the opposite direction of the intended spin. Upon reaching the lip of the jump, the snowboarder decompresses his knees in a spring-like motion as he unwinds his torso and throws his arms in the direction of the spin, providing the necessary force required to initiate angular momentum. Once airborne, the rider tucks his arms and body inward to reduce his air resistance and maintain his rotational momentum. Finally, as the rider descends down toward the landing, he untucks his body and opens his arms, maximizing his air resistance and reducing the speed of the spin, allowing him to land with his board facing forward and ride away with maintained velocity. The high level of thrill involved with attempting and executing these stunts is the primary reason that snowboarding has become one of the most popular sports of the 21st century. To many, the level of difficulty in snowboarding is often underestimated. But anyone who has ever ridden a snowboard and understands the complexity involved with these body movements will tell you that it's more than just a sport. It's an art form and a science. To become a good snowboarder, it might just take a bit of practice and coordination. But in order to become a great snowboarder, it takes more than physical ability alone. Only the athletes with a strong understanding of physics and the complete mastery of applying these principles to their riding can truly become great in the eyes of the snowboarding world.